Is the Western lifestyle in America in danger of being completely destroyed? Well, I took a 3,000-mile road trip, my trusty old Dodge pickup, through the entire state of California to find out. I stayed in nice hotels. Oh, good, it smells okay. I stayed in not so nice hotels. That's questionable. So I even stayed in the smallest tent in the world. Something fell over. And I talked to a lot of people. I talked to ranchers, I talked to people who work in Hollywood, I talked to foresters, a dairy farmer, and a motorcycle racer. I even talked to the legend himself, Kevin Costner, and got his take on the West.
The people who were being denied their kind of individualism in Europe under monarchies, under kings and princes, third-class citizens, knowing that their sons and daughters would be the same thing, they heard of this place across the ocean. And if you could get there, you were told you could make it yours.
I think it'll be worth your time to discover this journey of what the Western lifestyle is about today. Well, I am headed to California, where LA is on fire, which is kind of hard to believe when I'm standing here in Montana. And this is the weather. Here we go. Also have 1 cup of coffee. I'll have to get some more coffee, I'm sure, as I go. I'm now somewhere in Utah. I gotta cover a lot of miles today. Even fatty sandwiches like this feel so much better on your system than eating the food that's cooked at gas stations, I can tell you that. I end up eating a lot of these little wraps like this. So when you're getting diesel, you gotta remember, always get diesel. It doesn't blow anything up if you put diesel in a gas engine. If you put gas in a diesel engine, however, you can totally destroy your engine. Usually you grab a whole bunch of stuff out of your vehicle. You know, you got your keys and you got your phone and some trash. I was in a McDonald's one time in Livingston, Montana, and I had my keys laying on the tray, and I went to throw the tray into the garbage can, and I heard the ka-chunk, and of course the keys are heavy, so they just went right to the very bottom of the bag. And I had to get somebody, it was right in front of the counter, I had to get somebody from McDonald's to come out and take the trash out and pick up the bag, and we had to dig through it, and it was just like hanging in the bottom. So I don't want to do that anymore. Room for Trinity Evangelista. I'm always concerned about these motels versus a hotel. I'd rather sleep out in the prairie. Oh man. Yep, I should have slept out in the prairie. Kind of smells a little bit like it was smoked in and somebody cleaned it. Some people get excited to go to a hotel, not me. It's 9 o'clock, I'm exhausted. Been driving for 13 hours. Ugh. This wasn't really a bad hotel. I mean, not bad at all. Obviously, they must not be getting very much business this time of year, because it was, I think I got the room for 70 bucks, and that included tax. Let's go get some breakfast. Ooh, look at some cheese in there. Right here, I don't even have to go down a dirt road this morning, so my coffee might actually sit there without tipping off. Shoot, I'm just getting started and there's something in my sock. Don't feel anything, of course. When you take it off, then there's nothing in there. I'm just out of St. George. Some of the snow, Montana snow, is melting out of the back of the pickup. It's 38 degrees, I guess. I need to stop taking detours and get back on the road. Maybe I'll have to look this up. I don't know if it's a palm tree or a Joshua tree. Not really sure. This thing I'm wondering if this is one of them jumping cactuses or if this is just a regular cactus of some kind. Holy crap. So I came off of the interstate, which is right over there. It's not even that far. Turned onto this road, which has now become just a little, it's become a 2-track nothing road. So I thought I'd swing in here for lunch. That highway is so much more busy than anything in Montana. This is a backpack chair. It's not really a backpack chair because there's no way you'd ever pack this thing in your backpack. But it's pretty small, so it fits in my little box in the back seat very well. I'll put all that in there. So there's not much in there. I better not make very much coffee because that isn't very much coffee grounds right there. Got my burger going, a little bit of coffee going. I passed a huge amount of solar farms all over Nevada and Utah. I have been one to say, you know, we should put those where, you know, the ground isn't worth anything. You can't grow anything there, which is an argument, but it's very easy to say that about an area that you don't live. There's a beauty to this place. Every wild place has its own beauty, even the desert. I do want the least amount of impact that you can possibly get. When I drove through Salt Lake City, it's hard for me to see that. I don't live in an area. I live in kind of a pocket of the country that is blessed to not have a lot of people, not have a lot of civilization impact. And when you drive through Salt Lake City, it was terrible. It was hours of driving through city of 5 lanes of traffic. We have to realize that humanity needs resources. So you have to have power. You have to have oil. You have to have the materials to make this camera, to make my phone. You're gonna have to have mining. When I see solar and wind, I don't see less impact. I see a massive footprint. I have to get a glove. Making Cowboy coffee like this causes a lot of grounds to get in your cup, unless you take a little dash of really cold water and pour it down the spout and around the top, which forces the grounds to sink to the bottom of the pot. I just go down the spout now because the first time I did this, I got the grounds down in the main part here, but they were all stuck in the spout. Just like that. Some cheese on there and throw the lid on it. We'll let that melt for just a second. It's gonna get a little bit in here. See there, if we get, it doesn't have any grounds in it. We'll see if this is any good. It's a little bit strong, so I'm not sure if that's the coffee or if you like it strong, it's perfect. All right, let's check and see if this is done. Oh yeah, yep. Thank you, Lord, for keeping me safe on this trip, and I just pray for your wisdom upon everything I do, and bless this food to my body, and in Jesus' name, amen. Wagyu burger. That is fantastic. A little pepper jack cheese, salt and pepper, American Wagyu burger. What a good lunch. Now, if you want to eat some of the best beef in the world, it comes directly from Montana. Make sure you go to marbled.com and you can buy my package. I'll give you the link in the description, which has some of the stuff that I've chosen in there. It's kind of a sampling of what they do. And you can get 20% off if you use code Trinity. At the same time, you're also supporting somebody who raises, feeds, and butchers their cattle right in Montana. It's definitely getting too hot for my wool shirt. 53 degrees. That's warm. struck me because I view, you know, California people yell all the time about environment. I don't think I need to say anything more about that. Okay, well, I'm wondering about this motel. This is a little sketchier than I am. Ooh, wow, and I get to go back here in this corner. Look at that. Not bad. Smells pretty good. It looks pretty clean. Not that clean. That's questionable. I stayed in that little hotel. It was right up there. I didn't realize it was right next to the beach. But I think I'm in Ventura. Real sand, that's for sure. When you're coming here, there's a lot of desert first, and then you get into kind of where they're growing, you know, grapes and all kinds of stuff. And then once you get down out of the mountains, you get to the beach. If you read or understand any Western history, this is where they were all headed to, was California. Very few of them actually stayed in the middle of the West, over Montana, Wyoming, areas like that. Now I got to do one more thing before I go meet with Kevin Costner, and that is to wash my pickup. I tried to find one on the way out here, and I found one, but it said absolutely no mud. I was like, I'm not sure if that'll work. So look at this thing. Well, I tried to wash it off, but obviously I've got a few issues going on with it, as far as a few scratches from driving too close to trees, and that didn't come off because it gets a little water draining down the side. But it looks better, I guess. I mean, I'm not used to big cities at all. Just finding a place to park for a few minutes is really hard. I parked somewhere. Some lady came up, and I think she was trying to take a picture of my my license plate. I don't know if I was parked in the wrong place. It didn't say anything. My pickup stinks a little bit, like fuel. I think I have some chainsaw gas kind of leaked in the back there. With my pickup semi-clean, I decided I was maybe presentable enough to go talk to Kevin Costner, and that's what I did that day. And here is that conversation. I think you pick out of it. Actually, no, I'm gonna wait for that conversation for a little bit. Good to have anticipation, right? I see there's nuts all over on the ground. I have no idea what those are. There's some beautiful country around here. This is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, look back in those hills. I've never stayed at the Radisson, but that's what came up on my app. It definitely smells better than the one I stayed in last night, which you could smell smoke last night on like some of the pillows. Look at the view of a roof. So if you saw my New York video, you know how different this is. Watch. This is how an elevator works. See, just simple. You just push the button where you want it to go, right? You're gonna place your room key here. Like that. Okay, we're at the hotel now. So, 2. All right, boy, wow, what a culture shocking thing, just incredible. Why isn't it open? So you place the room key here and hold the key until the light. I think I got it, maybe. No, I didn't. How do I get? Okay. Place the room key here and hold. Okay. Like that. Oh, it moved. How the heck do you get out of here? That's kind of what I pictured California looking like. And you can see that there's been cattle on this ground. Anywhere that cattle haven't, that I don't see cattle on the sides of the hills or anything, are just covered with that brush like I showed yesterday. was your name?
Charlie.
Charlie? Good to meet you, Charlie. In the near future, water is going to be the next Bitcoin or gold out west. I mean, and I think lots of big corporations and companies are understanding this, and therefore they're making a play to try to control as much water as they can in the west. Whoever owns the water and controls the water controls everything. In Cuyama Valley, you got an interesting situation going on, don't you?
Everyone who owns property in this entire valley is being sued for water rights by two large corporations that have been pumping the most water in this valley for decades. What we've tried to tell everybody, we don't want them to get away with this here, because if they do, it's coming to a community near you.
Absolutely. As soon as you set a precedent in court, some other corporation is going to do the same thing. When you sit in a boardroom like we were talking about, and you're totally disconnected from what you're making a decision on, it's very easy to just make a decision. Oh yeah, we just need some more profit, without ever even considering what that is going to do to somebody else. It's very hard when it's one person and they have to look the guy in the eye.
For them to win, all they have to do is drag this out.
They just hand it to their lawyers and they don't even worry about it. They're just cutting checks. Major corporation, this is just a normal expense anyway. Oh, it's just business, it's not personal. Well, to you it's personal. Farming and ranching is not a massive, it's not a real high profit margin thing unless you're really, really big, like corporate farming. The stress level goes up.
It's heavy.
And it's really heavy. I mean, now you have to spend another $10,000, $14,000 to do something that wasn't in your plan at all, right? Just to maintain the ability to stay in business. She's got the hookers to.
Yep, she's got them pointed the right direction to be mean. Our last bull calf prospect, he's down at the house. You'll notice there isn't, with the exception of the one that we looked at that was the Brangus mix, black is a recessive trait within the Longhorns.
Okay.
Wine grapes are different than table grapes with how they do it, so I'm not super familiar with how they do that either, so that would be a question for the wine grape guys, but at least for these, eventually, and I know they look pretty bushy, it's because I haven't gotten them trellised yet.
We were just talking about this. Down in Texas, they do the same thing. They cross Brahma with Angus. So it makes them have a little longer ear, but they do better with the heat. Apparently, this is high heat area.
Yes. Yeah.
In the summer, what's your temperature wise? I mean, you're talking
100, 102.
So
we can hit 105.
Okay.
July is a hot month for us.
I see. It's very obvious that what part of the Western lifestyle means today in my personal quest, and I discovered throughout my trip through California, is the struggle between urban and rural, and sometimes between corporate and small business. And that was the case right here in the Cuyama Valley. Make sure you go watch the full video on my YouTube channel, and I'll leave a link in the description. So I'm going to head around these mountains over here into some really remote, supposedly really remote area, and see if that's actually true. If there are these remote areas, kind of like Montana. Even in a small little town like Cuyama Valley, which is where I'm standing right now, with a population of just a couple hundred, you still notice things that are different than where I'm from. There's bars on the windows. Even little tiny remote communities like this are within striking distance of LA and places like that, and it brings with them some influence. If we go out there, I want to see what it's really like. If it's remote enough to where you can say, yeah, this is, you know, I feel at home like I would on the prairie of Montana or Wyoming, or if it still feels like California and everything in life is illegal. I turned off the main highway here, and it looks like I could be in some parts of Montana. Well, there's one thing that will slow down traffic in an area, and that is letting your road get turned into washboard. Look at this. The entire time I was in this valley, I was trying to figure it out. There was evidence of ranches everywhere, but they had been abandoned for many, many years. This ground is like sinky. like sink into it. I'm assuming fire danger is like in the extreme here. Look at my foot just sunk all the way in. Look at that. That is so weird. I've never felt that before. So this is oats. So this is from somebody planting crops around here somewhere in the past, and it probably blew the seed up here. Obviously old ranch ground, public ground now, but it obviously used to be ranch ground. You have down there in the bottom, there's an old grain bin of some kind, or a water tank, something like that. There's no cow patties anywhere. This is all eaten by ground squirrels. This big patch right here, all the grass has been taken underground by ground squirrels. There's a bunch of restrictions on this thing, so I didn't know exactly where to go. So I checked out this campground. This is actually an old ranch yard, and I know that because there's a sign here that says this is the last remaining building of this ranch, and it's right here. So they got doors opening like this, so they got work tables and benches. Yeah, so this was their shop, probably. I thought for sure this campground would be like a lot of people in it, but it is January, and this campground has corrals for horses. Okay, so this is a tiny, tiny tent, I'm telling you. Look at this, I can't even fit underneath it. But I'm gonna have to go in here, I think, to set this other corner. It's tiny. Oh, I'm hooked on everything. This is tiny, tiny, tiny. There's no, I mean, I can turn around, but it's barely, ooh, there's a rock right there. Move that rock out from underneath it. That would not have felt good. All right, now, keep hooking this rope on everything. The world's smallest tent. Just enough room for me, barely. Definitely gonna have to make sure I get that zipped up really nice so I don't have a ground squirrel inside the tent with me when I wake up. I've had this thing since I was a teenager. This is what I slept in when I was packing as an outfitter in the backcountry 30 years ago. Hey, it still works. The first thing I'm gonna do for supper tonight is try to make some flatbread. So I tried this before, it didn't work great. So I'm gonna attempt it again. You see this? Look at this. It's bleached. I don't know what pressified means, but why are we bleaching the flour that we have? Okay, that's a lot. So just pour a little bit in here. I think that's probably enough. Okay, the last time I did this, what I ended up with was it just stuck to the bag so bad. And everybody said the problem is you put way too much water in it. So it's sticking to the bag really bad now too. So I'm not sure if I did it right, but it doesn't look like it's working. I mean, it's turning into dough. It's just, I don't know how you get it out of there. Okay, so this is warm right there. So I'm just gonna, like that, give it a little time to warm up. All right, so these aren't just any hot dogs. These are from Marbled. So this is Wagyu, but they're jalapeno cheddar hot dogs. All born, raised, and butchered right in the United States. So you can't get much better than that. We don't have anything to cook with other than this, so we're just gonna gotta come in half so they fit. Starting to get pretty dark out here. Going down behind the hill over there. The gourmet version of hot dogs is what these are. My wife's gonna croak when she sees this, but because she's like, you're just cooking hot dogs. Yeah, but those are gourmet hot dogs. I mean, they're not just normal hot dogs. They're Wagyu beef hot dogs. All right. Oh yeah, it's warm. So this is what you would do in a kitchen. I'm not sure how you're supposed to do this on a, you know, like a backpacking trip where you don't have any of this stuff available. But let's try, just put a little bit of that down so that it doesn't stick to the plate. And then we'll throw this. Yeah, it's just sticking. It's just stuck to the bag. You can't, I'm not sure how you're supposed to get it out of here without, I'm gonna turn the bag inside out because it's not, so there's no really point in having it in the bag then. I wanted this to be something I could do in the backcountry or something. But, I mean, you see now, I'm just covered in dough. This isn't gonna help me. I've seen Outdoor Boys does it all the time, and I don't know how he does that. He doesn't have even a paper plate. I'm just making a mess. Just making a huge mess here. Obviously, this isn't the way you do it. On a plate here. Little char on there. All right, let's see if it'll work. It's pretty spongy yet. I don't think it turned out very well. At this point, if you're laughing at me, that's fine. But this is just an experiment. I like my hot dogs a little charred. Throw that on there. The bread is a little rubbery. A few potato chips to make it extra. This is ridiculous. This is like potato chip crumbs. This is like the worst looking plate I think I have ever made, but let's see if it tastes good. Well, the bread's a little rubbery, but it tastes like bread. I mean, I wish I had a little butter on it. A little smoke on there. I'll eat that, absolutely. Now, typically I would hear in Montana, you hear a bunch of birds chirping, and here you hear a bunch of crows cawing. I'm probably the only person for about 10 miles at least. You know, there's not a whole lot to do after dark when you're by yourself. Can't have a campfire. So I'll probably just slide in the tent and probably wake up really early if I go to sleep earlier. The second one was a little better. It's kind of crispy. I'm really not sure if this experiment is a success or just the hot dog is really good. So now that it's completely dark, what do you do when you're out here? You don't have anything, you really don't have anything because you just have a tent. You can stare at a campfire for a long time, but if you don't have a campfire, just occupying your mind can be a very good exercise. So I'm watching the owls go back and forth between those two great big trees over there. Put the hat, turn around. Well, something fell over. The tent's laying on. There we go. I kicked that pole out. I gotta quit moving around so much. Good morning. Obviously below freezing because this is frozen. The water from my breath has frozen on the inside of the tent. I had to get up in the middle of the night and go take a leak outside. That was an experience because to get out of this little tiny tent, I'm hoping my hat is not soaking wet because it's up against the side of the tent. And so is my coat. The condensation on there is frozen. Oh, that's not frozen. It's frozen down here. It's all solid ice down here. Put my hat on. Whew, that's cold. Oh. Sun's coming up in the smoke. There's a lot of smoke over there. I'm assuming that's from the LA fires themselves. Duckworth hoodie, powder hoodie. Now that thing is warm, so that immediately started warming up my upper body. That Duckworth stuff, it's real wool made in the United States, and the wool is grown right up in Montana near me. Fantastic stuff. You can get a discount on it. If you go in the description, you can see the description. You see the website and the coupon code. You can get 20% off. All right, I think coffee's ready here. Oh yeah, it's always hit the spot in the morning. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just snowing out the bottom of the tent. I'm gonna head from one of the least populated places in California to one of the most. I'm gonna head to LA today. Eating some leftover hot dogs from last night. I think it's like a protected valley for ground squirrels. There's a lot of people who want to manage our rural areas historically. Now, I'm not saying that I don't like public ground. This is public ground. But public ground can lease to ranchers. It does all the time. Ranchers lease public ground all the time for grazing. It actually benefits wildlife because like this right here used to be a water tank. You can see the pipes are coming up and there's a circle here. So obviously they pumped water up from the bottom from a well or something and put it right here. And that would be another access point for certain types of wildlife like deer and elk that would use that, but it's taken out. But when you're managing something historically, it means you're trying to get it back to the way it was, or the way you think it looked 150 years ago, instead of utilizing it and managing it for civilization. We have 40 million people in California. Why wouldn't you use this grass, develop the springs, make it accessible for cattle and wildlife, and which grows food? People can still enjoy it just as much as they do now with cattle on the landscape. You're also having income come in from that to ranchers who then can spend their money throughout the community. So it's a huge boon. Right now, it's great to look at, but it's just costing taxpayers money. In LA, I got to meet the guy on the horses that make the movies in Hollywood and ride an absolute legend. Good morning.
Hey, Scott.
Scott, good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Trinity. Where's Hollywood?
It'll be right that direction. That hill right there.
Uh-huh.
On the other side of it, you'll find the Hollywood sign. This barn's been here since the 50s. At that time, this whole river bottom was for the movie industry. They would actually herd the horses down the riverbed to the studios, which the studios is about 5 miles from here. And they would herd the horses down the riverbed, part off what they needed to use for the day, and then they'd kick everything out in the wash and let them graze for the day, and those cowboys would bring them back at the end of the day and when they were done with them. So a lot of these barns have already been movie barns long before I got here.
So that means they used horses in a lot more stuff than
Back then,
Yes.
in the 50s and 60s, that was all they did.
They made a lot of Western
A lot of
movies, and
Westerns.
John Wayne
Yes.
was around that time.
That was when they had Gunsmoke and all them.
I
going on.
see.
It's not like it used to be.
You gotta what do you gotta have permits every time they poop, or
Yeah.
when you're taking these horses on that, you go with them then?
Yes.
So you're right there.
I'm there all the time.
Yeah, because you about have to be.
Every day I'm on the set next to camera. I supervise what goes on with the horses. I go through and pick the horses for the actors. You know, a lot of it is you read the script and you see what the horse has to do. So then you end up choosing the proper horse for the actor and what action it has to have done in the actual project. Leroy's got a bigger resume than I got. He's been on Flicka,
Oh, so he's
Hateful Eight, Django, Westworld.
You know, I never thought I would be riding a famous horse right outside of Hollywood.
And this is Leroy. Leroy, that's right. In the second movie, okay.
Second part, yeah, that went to a tall horse. Now,
They just call down here?
Online. It's
What's it called?
LAHorserentals.com. We have a whole schedule for the week. We've got a 30-minute, an hour, hour and a half, 2-hour, and a 3-hour to the Hollywood sign on call, but you can secure your spot online.
Okay. So I shouldn't do this, but there's a pizza place right beside this hotel. Listening to a podcast, somebody said, you know, you got to be doing something that scares you to death. So I'm lost. So I guess I must be doing something correct. I found it. Yeah, I called home and everything seems to be falling to crap up there. The house is cold, or it's going through wood like crazy because it's, you know, 0 winds howling. My dad said there's like a ground blizzard going on. So our power bill ended up like being $400 this month. I'm like, good grief. So, you know, to celebrate everything going to crap, I'm gonna go eat some pizza. Yeah, this will work. Look at that. It's a good thing it was a really relaxing atmosphere. And I think this lady behind me thought I was totally crazy. Yeah, I'm gonna start that down. Right now, I am in Atascadero. I'm really proud of myself for actually getting that. I think I got it pretty right. I said it right. Yesterday, I couldn't say it right once. It's actually pretty funny to watch the news this morning because a lot of people talk about climate change, even people that I know, and they kind of believe in that. I could see if they, you know, tried to stay behind a narrative of global warming, you know, then you could argue something. But climate change is a trash term. So right now in Florida and Texas and New Orleans, Charleston, South Carolina is what I was thinking of, like snowed on. They're just being dumped on. I'm near LA, which just burned down half the town. You can use it for both ends of the spectrum. Climate change just means the weather is changing. So if you say, well, does climate change happen? Yeah, it does. The weather changes a lot. What are we actually in right here?
We're in Cayucas.
Cayucas?
Yep, Cayucas, California. I'm 6th generation, so my family's been here since 1870.
This is not normal to see in Montana.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're not gonna find that.
No.
No.
What is it? Are those lemons?
Those are oranges.
Okay, so when you said that you run cattle right on the edge of the ocean on the beach.
Yep.
You meant like right on the edge of the ocean on the beach.
Quite literally.
Look at this. So I'm not a huge fan of swimming in the ocean or getting wet in the ocean at all because of the sharks. I always think about the sharks.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that?
I agree. I mean, I get creeped out even if like a seal will come up and say hi to you. Right. I'm just like, oh, thank you.
Exactly.
I was missing a bull. He was my first year bull, just turned him out. We put him out with another 3-year-old bull that was bigger, and I'd been missing him for 2 days. I drive over to here, and then I'm like, I just happened to turn around. The bull is sitting there eating like the grass right there. And I'm like,
oh really? Down on the shore.
Are you kidding me? Yeah, he was,
Man.
yeah, the poor guy. And so he'd been there for 2 days and
Wow.
with no water.
No water,
there's
yeah.
a little spring there and he was like licking the spring water.
Okay. I mean, right here, the cattle have been right up to this edge. I mean, they've eaten this edge.
I think he got flung off by the other bull because there's a whole bunch of messed up dirt. Cal Fire came out and they had to tranquilize him. And then they didn't have a harness big enough for him. So they actually took a rope, like one of those big, thick PG&E, like power ropes.
Right.
And they tied him around the front feet and around the neck in a bowline so it wouldn't like stick up on his neck. And they airlifted him like that out of
Wow.
here. Yeah, I have a video of it. It's pretty cool.
That is pretty
But,
cool. So they had
yeah.
to lift him straight up, and then they just went over the hill
They
and put
flew
him.
literally right over the hill and into the crowd, put him right in the crowd.
Huh.
And then they woke him back up and he was just walking around eating grass. It was insane.
I think I'm gonna set my tent up right here. Sun is setting. I got my camp set up here, eating some leftover pizza. So here's my tent. What a spot. You're right on the edge, dropping down to the ocean. I wanted to see what rural life is like in California, and I'm getting all that and more on this trip. It's been incredible. While at home, it's a little depressing. It is super cold up there. Somebody just called me. The neighbor's horse water is broken. They're having trouble heating everything up, and I'm out here in 58-degree weather looking out over the ocean. What a day. I can hear the waves crashing down there. It's kind of like going to the mountains and hearing a creek kind of bubbling past you. Just flip. So I'm not really sure the protocol for how you get dressed in one of these things. I think this will work out really good as long as the wind doesn't blow a ton, because it rattles the tent really bad, which could keep me awake. But good night. We'll say this, sleeping right here on the cliff above the ocean was a lot warmer than sleeping over in the desert. That was cold over there. The only really bad part about this tent is this wire right here that holds it up. It is right in your way. So anytime you're going in or out, you're bumping into that stupid thing. Really, this tent is too small for what I'm doing, but it works. And then that pad right there is definitely not thick enough. It's so hard that you have to basically keep waking up and turning over to a different side. So I'd like to sit around here until sunrise, but I can't do that because I have to be up above San Francisco at a certain time today. So I'm gonna have to leave by 7, which is the same time as sunrise. The northern part of California is a lot of forest and a lot of redwoods, which I knew nothing about. So I wanted to talk about forest management and fire management with somebody who knows a ton about it. Is it Redden?
Redding.
Joe Redding, he is here in California. He's got a long history with forest management. How long you been doing this?
Since 1977.
So that's
Way back last century.
a long time. And you worked with the Forest Service, right?
I did. I retired from the U.S. Forest Service in 2017.
Oh, so you worked for them for a long time.
I did. Yeah,
Okay.
38 years. Now this is a 75-foot loggers tape. On the back side of it, it's a diameter tape for measuring trees. And let's take a look here. This tree has survived a fire. And
wow. Yeah, it's burned inside there.
yeah, it's charred. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's got some green moss on it.
Yep.
And look at how thick
it's
the
very
bark
charred
is.
down there. Oh
Look
yeah,
at-
and the
look-
bark is incredibly thick. It's
Right.
like,
And this is known as a cat face on a tree, and it goes up probably 30 feet, right?
oh yeah. Yeah, it goes up
Yeah.
a long ways.
Yeah. Yeah, so this monarch has survived fire.
Down in here in the bottom.
Down
even.
here in the
Yep.
bottom, yep.
Which is like, how many feet is that?
Well,
We'll see.
Yeah, this tape is calibrated to measure diameter, right? Which is the distance from the center of the tree to the outside bark.
Oh, is that what it's measuring?
Right. Yep.
Okay.
So this is a DBH of 110.5 110.3 inches.
From the center to the
Yeah. Yep.
outside.
Yep.
Wow.
9 feet.
Yeah.
9 feet,
From
something.
the center to
Yeah.
the.
Yeah. God knows when that fire happened.
Oh, yeah, right.
I think it happened before human settlement here, and that's why it wasn't taken.
Okay.
Native American settlement,
Yeah.
because Stream Valley, right?
Yep.
Okay, Native Americans used this probably, and they did use fire.
Right.
But this is one of the reasons why this tree survived. The logger said, that's a cull.
Right, because it's got a big
Right.
hole
Yeah,
in the.
yeah,
Got it. Okay, so it
Yeah.
burned and kind of opened up a
Yeah.
thing, and so they never logged it.
Right.
Right.
And, yes, and then you can see the pattern of this. See these
Yeah.
3 trees
Yep.
here, and
They're all
then
together? They
they're
come
all
out of a
together.
crown?
They all came out of that same stump. That
I
was the
see.
stump,
That was actually something that was cut.
right? And
Wow.
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah,
So like this over here would be one too?
yes, yep. So there's
Oh yeah, this one's probably about the same size.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
it's got a cut in it.
yep, it's got the cat face. Where,
On day 8 of my trip, I went to the most beautiful area I think I've seen in California and was able to talk to an extremely interesting person.
So I came up a little bit north of San Francisco, and I'm with Shalina, and she grew up on a dairy farm, right?
Yep. Born and raised.
Her whole family has been in the dairy farm business since a long
I think
time.
we came over here in like 1900s, somewhere right before then. And I mean, they were dairy farmers over in the Azores before they came here. So
And then you also do something else. What else do you do?
I'm a professional motorcycle racer.
A professional motorcycle racer. So this is 2 things in one. And right here is a clash of at the same time, you're having a clash between urban and rural values, I think.
Yeah. And I like to dabble in both. I like to go and race over in countries like France, Italy, Spain, China, Qatar, Japan, like all over the world. And so I get to live the high life on that. But I learned how to ride motorcycles out here on the farm, like to bring in the cows. We rode the quads to go bring the girls in from out in the field. So it kind of, it goes together better than anybody thinks.
That's right.
To me, this is the best life that you can have.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that growing up out here teaches you responsibility and consequence, and you have this connection to nature that you can't get anywhere else. People talk about grounding, if you've heard of the new thing about grounding, coming out and walking on grass. Like, I feel like this
Grounding
life,
meaning taking the static electricity
Yes.
and going to the ground.
exactly, newfangled stuff
Yeah.
that we've
yeah.
known about for centuries,
Exactly.
right? And that's what we get to do out here. You know, like we're literally connected to the land and our food, and you know, I get to put effort into that cow, and then she's gonna give me milk back. Right now, there's a fight going on in Point Reyes. They just shut down a dozen farms. Just like that. It's a fight that was going on for the last 8 years. Really doubled down on those farmers 2 years ago, and they put a gag order on them, so they couldn't even ask the community to stand up for them. And so
they went out like they shut them down, meaning they
done.
can't even have cows or anything.
they've got to move off the property. They've been there for over 100 years. Those dairies started in 1857. And a lot of the same families have been there the whole time. In 1962, the government came in and took the land and said, we're making it into a national park, and you guys, it's no longer yours. And the farmers were like, we're gonna lose our livelihoods. And so the Congress made a decision that they were gonna allow these farmers to continue farming in perpetuity. Like, they were allowed to keep the land in a lease for as long as they wanted, as long as they kept it in agriculture, because in that time they really valued the local food and agriculture. But the environmental groups came in and started raising a fuss, and instead of working with the farmers to make sure that things were being done right, our local RCD even came up with money to upgrade the ranches if needed, and the environmental groups said no thanks. They wanted to take the land over, and so they forced these farmers to sign an agreement that are pushing them all out. So we're gonna lose half of our dairies in Marin County and a bunch of the beef ranches that provide local food. And it's really, really a disservice to a community that has a shrinking agriculture already. Like, And the way, especially like the way that these ranches were created, they were literally created to serve San Francisco because they could put the food on the boats and bring it straight down to San Francisco.
So they're right on the shoreline or
Yeah,
something,
they're on
close to the ocean.
Yeah, close to the ocean. That's
So what is the reason why they shut them down, and what do they use?
they're using elk,
You mean
like
the Thule elk?
the Thule elk. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. And so for sure, the thing that people don't recognize is that for sure farmers want animals around. We believe in wildlife, right? Like we help to feed the wildlife out here too, and to keep it like it's always been. So the farmers want to be able to work hand in hand with wildlife and the animals, but the environmentalists see it as an opportunity to come in and take over.
Elk love to actually follow cattle.
Yep, they do.
They do not like the rough grass that grows up without cattle on it. This has been, it's documented. They like to follow either buffalo or cattle, one of the big grazers. People that just operate farms and ranches actually benefit wildlife because they're feeding them all the time, and they're actually increasing the quality of the land. So by kicking these people off, I'm assuming they're wanting them to remove the cattle altogether, right?
Yeah, they want them to remove the cattle altogether, but written in the law is that they have to have agriculture there. And so they're leasing it out to one farmer, and it's a real disservice is all it is to our local food and our cultural heritage around here. The farmers that have kept the land as rolling hills and open space the whole time are now getting their entire legacy ripped apart.
I sat down and talked with Kevin Costner about the West and his movies. And even though there's correlations here, we weren't talking about the present day West. What we were talking about is history and the pioneers and their journey to the West. A lot of that really struck me as a correlation between what's going on, even though that is not what Kevin is talking about here. It always strikes me when I talk to you how much of a student of history in the West you are. You obviously do this because you have a passion for it.
Yeah. Well, I certainly wouldn't hold myself out as a PhD, but I'm terribly drawn to the drama.
Yeah.
Because it was dramatic. Everything that happened was really life and death. Winner takes all mentality rolled right across that Atlantic Ocean into America.
Yeah, I when I look at it, I don't see any alternative. I mean, the way it happened was horrible. But, it's like one of those things where you're looking back on something that happened. But you pick out of it the stories that were in it, the strong people
It's pretty
that were
safe.
in it.
It's pretty safe to if you want to draw some kind of picture of America when there was pyramids in Egypt, when there was large buildings in Paris and Germany, and the Middle East was the birthplace of civilization. Those communities, incredible buildings, incredible. There was nothing like that in America.
Right.
It was lightly lived on, and it's safe to say, at the moment we feel like we discovered America, that this was the Garden of Eden. America flourished, and we went at it the way only we could. The people who were being denied their kind of individualism in Europe under monarchies, under kings and princes, third-class citizens, knowing that their sons and daughters would be the same thing, they heard of this place across the ocean. And if you could get there, you were told you could make it yours. And that is the thing that propelled this. And I agree with you. I don't know how it was going to happen any other way, because we didn't act involved. We acted hungry. We were entitled. And there were so many people willing, I think, to coexist. But because of the way America's built, there was other people who said, I don't care about the rules.
Right.
If I'm big enough, I'm strong enough, I'm going to take it. And we couldn't overcome that. But we could raise our intellectual footprint of understanding what happened here and having an empathy for it. Right now, it's a single year of school and a single chapter of a book where we really talk about it. Shameful. And when it was even Steven, we didn't win.
Right.
When it became sheer numbers and technology, it began to encroach. But these people were gifted in their own land, And
wouldn't you say like the railroad enabled that to kind of open up the West, right? I mean,
it did. You know, it was now you could do it in half the time. The Pony Express was, what was it, 14 days or 21 days from St. Louis to San Francisco? We'll make our viewer look it up.
Right.
But that's what it was.
Yeah.
And it only lasted a year, but it was a signal. That was big technology. Then it was a train, and what did a train take? 7 days, 9 days, 10 days?
Right.
Most of them were derailed. It was dangerous.
Right.
It was all dangerous. Nobody was checking the bridges, you know?
No.
There was no infrastructure. It was, America is a miracle, and I love it. And I love our history, and anything we do to hide it bothers me.
Yeah. The people that did it were such risk takers. I mean, they had to be. They had to take their life in their hands just to do anything. Just to survive.
You know, they weren't even necessarily all risk takers. Some of them were just, they had to go along with their husbands. They weren't risk.
That is very true.
They just had to go.
Mm-hmm.
And even the husband was not a risk taker, but I don't know. I can't make a living. New York isn't right for me. Isn't right for us. It isn't right. We need to have our own land. Everything's spoken for. It wasn't just a risk. It was a hope that took people. Risk takers are different than people that just wanted something from themselves, and they hoped that wherever they were going, the person leading them would get them there. They hoped that where they were going would be what it looked like on the picture. Yeah, hoping that they could have a life.
A dream, right. Those people that had to dream of something better. Yeah, absolutely.
Coming to America was an individual pursuit, and people that got on a wagon train had to watch people die and had to just keep rolling. It was women lost a husband, they had to get another one. They had to keep rolling. And they got to a place, and maybe they realized if they didn't work together, they were going to die. So towns did get built sometimes together, but not because there was some gigantic plan in Pennsylvania. What happened was reality hit them right in the face, and they realized that they had to dig in. That's what I love about America. That's what I love about the story. If you believe in post-traumatic stress, we just went through it's just called a different thing. You know, in World War I, it was the 1,000-mile stare. So when you think that there was about 30 million people in America at the time of the Civil War, 30 million, right? And it went for 4 years, and people didn't serve a term. That war started. If you believe in that, people were touched on both sides, practically the whole country. Think about the amount of people that were maimed and whatever, and people that saw things they'll never be able to explain. Those people found their way out west. So you had people, all kinds of people out here that you couldn't read. You couldn't see the wound on the inside. You couldn't see the skill set that was developed in hand-to-hand combat or absolute warfare, and then realize a rich man said, you can do that out here and I'll make you rich. Not as rich as me. And then suddenly you took the right personality with a terrible intent, he could hire an army.
Right. Of all these people who are callous
killers
on the inside, and from the Civil War.
America was difficult. Words like stranger had a boogeyman meaning. We think a stranger is just, you spell it, stranger, okay, S-T-R-A-N-G-E-R, stranger, okay, stranger, somebody you don't know. In the West, somebody you didn't know was scary.
Right.
You didn't know where they came from. Can you overlay that? Can I overlay that in my movie? Can I somehow in my movie overlay that they had a different way of having to survive? There's men that stayed up all night to protect their homes.
Right.
For probably 20 years of their life. It's like the wonder of it hits me. Right. How hard to get that water up here. How hard everything was. It's just hard.
It was. Everything was hard.
And it was beautiful, but no one had the time.
Exactly.
It was beautiful.
Most of their time was spent surviving.
It was hard keeping your children clean, staying close to water. It was hard. And I don't think we have to apologize for that. I just think we have to be That's our history, not a page in not a chapter in a book. Let's expand our footprint historically to give us perspective.
A little nervous about this hotel. I went with a cheap hotel, and sometimes with the cheap ones it is a little scary. So oh good, it smells okay. That's the bad, that's like the one thing that I really worry about with cheap hotels or motels is the smell. So my assessment of hotels, as far as staying in the areas that I've stayed, I figure the cutoff is around $100. If it's $100 for a night, then usually it's pretty nice. Where if it's lower than $100 like this one, you're taking a risk. I'm about to turn to the east and north and leave California behind again, probably for a long time. And so I just wanted to kind of reflect on what I saw in California and my thoughts on it on this beach of crashing waves in Northern California. I kind of wondered, I was talking to Kevin Costner at the beginning of this trip about the West, and this is the west of the West, California is, and a lot of people that were crossing the West were crossing it to get to California. And I kind of wondered why, but now I definitely have a better picture of that. When you come over, especially in the winter time, I mean, Montana is frigidly cold right now, and out here in California I'm enjoying 50 to 70 degree weather. I mean, it gets down cold at night. It's probably 39 here, but I'm pretty far north. I'm thinking there's a lot of people that came to this area just for the climate. The climate is much more moderate than in the interior of the West. Because of the climate, you can't grow everything that you want to. Out here, I've seen avocado trees, I've seen pistachio trees, I've seen almond trees, I've seen grapes. The diversity of crops that you can grow here is just exponentially more because of the moisture and the weather. I've seen where tons and tons of homeless people have taken refuge in towns and are wandering around everywhere. I've seen people that are very affluent and have a lot of money. I got a look inside a place in the United States that's absolutely astonishingly beautiful. And I think because it's beautiful and the climate's nice and people want to live here and enjoy the ocean and the places, the conflict between urban and rural becomes very raw. They see ranchers and farmers owning land, and it just gets at them. It's like, why don't I own that? One of the things that I think, or as a person, will hold you back more than anything else is focusing so much on what somebody else has rather than on what you are going to do next. That roiling sea is very violent. It's beautiful and very violent. It's fighting against itself, and it's relentless. And I think we're going to have to, as rural America, farmers and ranchers and people who grow our food and sustain our wildlife and lands, we're going to have to fight relentlessly as well, or we're going to lose our way of life. And if we do, the people in the cities, the urban people, they're going to lose their food supply. And they're going to be beholden to somebody else in some other country that dictates to us what we grow and what price we get. I'm going to stand here for just a few more minutes and enjoy this beauty before I turn east and north and head into the interior of the West, back where the weather is extremely harsh and the battle isn't raging quite this hard, at least not yet.